Imagine you're standing in line at a local coffee shop. To your left, there's a guy in a tailored navy suit checking a gold watch every 30 seconds, looking like he's about to close a multi-million-dollar merger. To your right, there's a woman in a faded, oversized sweatshirt and 10-year-old sneakers, patiently waiting for her black coffee. If I asked you which one of them has a higher net worth, your brain would make a split-second decision. You'd pick the suit. We all would. It's a survival instinct, a way to categorize status in a world that moves too fast to read anyone's bank statement. But what if I told you the man in the suit is 3 months behind on a mortgage he can't afford, and the woman in the sweatshirt just crossed the seven-figure mark in her brokerage account? This isn't just a hypothetical scenario or some gotcha moment. It is the quiet, invisible reality of wealth in the modern world. We are living through a strange era where the people who look poor are often the wealthiest among us, while those who look rich are drowning just to keep their heads above water. Today, I want to talk about why that is. I want to look at the psychological trap of looking the part and why the most powerful thing you can ever own is the ability to look completely ordinary. Because at the end of the day, money is either used to impress people you don't even like, or it's used to buy the one thing that actually matters: your time. We've been conditioned to believe that wealth has a specific uniform. We think it looks like luxury European cars, designer labels, and houses with more rooms than people. We've grown up in a culture that treats consumption as a proxy for success. If you have the thing, you must have the money to get the thing. It's a very simple, logical equation that our brains love. But that equation has a massive, glaring flaw. It doesn't account for debt. In the past, status was easier to track. If you had a horse and a manor, you were wealthy. Today, credit has democratized the appearance of wealth. Anyone with a decent credit score and a willingness to sign a 36-month lease can look like a millionaire for about $800 a month. We are surrounded by what I call hollow wealth. It's an exquisite shell with nothing inside. When you see someone who looks poor, someone driving a reliable but boring sedan, wearing clothes that don't scream a brand name, living in a modest neighborhood, you're often looking at someone who has opted out of the status game. They aren't spending their capital to signal that they have capital. And that is the ultimate paradox. The only way to actually be wealthy is to not spend the money that makes you wealthy. Think about the math of a luxury purchase. Let's say you buy a $60,000 car. The moment you drive it off the lot, you've signaled to the world that you are successful. But in reality, your net worth just plummeted. You've exchanged a liquid asset, or worse, future earnings through debt, for a depreciating piece of metal. The person who stays in the beat-up Honda isn't too poor for the luxury car. They are often the person who realizes that the $60,000, when left alone to compound, represents 2 or 3 years of their life. They won't have to work later on. They aren't choosing a bad car. They are choosing freedom. There's a deep psychological weight to maintaining an image. When you buy into the rich aesthetic, you create a baseline. If you move into the expensive neighborhood, you now have to maintain the landscaping, join the country club, and keep up with the neighbors' renovations. You've built a cage out of gold bars. Every morning you wake up, you have to run faster just to stay in the same place. The people who look poor are often the ones who have realized that the most expensive thing you can buy is the opinion of other people. It's a debt that never gets paid off. Every time you buy something to impress someone else, you're essentially giving away a piece of your future self to a stranger who probably isn't even paying attention. Let's look at how this actually plays out in a person's life. I remember a neighbor I had growing up. His name was Mr. Miller. He drove a beige truck that sounded like it was coughing every time he started it. He wore flannel shirts from the local hardware store. Most people in the neighborhood thought he was just a blue-collar guy scraping by. When he passed away, it turned out he had a portfolio worth nearly $4 million. He wasn't a genius. He wasn't a CEO. He was just a guy who decided that he didn't need to prove anything to anyone. While everyone else was upgrading their kitchens and financing new SUVs, Mr. Miller was quietly buying shares of index funds. He was buying peace of mind. He was buying the ability to never worry about a medical bill or a roof repair. He looked poor because he was busy becoming wealthy. There's a concept in psychology called relative deprivation. It's the idea that we don't judge our success by our own standards, but by comparing ourselves to the people around us. If everyone in your social circle is leveling up their lifestyle, you feel like you're falling behind if you stay the same. It takes an incredible amount of mental strength to stay level when the world is telling you to expand. But here's the secret. When you stop spending money to look rich, you lose the anxiety of being found out. There's a quiet, heavy stress that comes with a high consumption lifestyle. It's the fear that if your income drops for even a month, the whole house of cards collapses. The person who looks poor doesn't have that fear. They have a margin of safety. They can lose their job, they can take a year off, they can start a business that might fail, and they'll be fine. Their wealth is invisible, and because it's invisible, it's protected. So, how do we shift our mindset? How do we go from wanting to look successful to actually being secure? It starts with a fundamental realization. Money is a tool for control over your time. That's it. It's not a scoreboard for your worth as a human being. The next time you're out and you see someone driving a car that's clearly past its prime, or someone wearing clothes that haven't been in style for 5 years, don't feel pity. Instead, try to feel a bit of curiosity. They might be struggling, sure, but they might also be the freest person in the room. They might be the person who can walk away from a toxic job tomorrow. They might be the person who doesn't lie awake at night wondering how they'll pay the credit card bill. The goal isn't to live a life of deprivation. It's not about never buying anything nice. It's about intentionality. It's about asking yourself, am I buying this because it adds value to my life or because I want people to think my life has value? If you choose the latter, you will always be poor, no matter how many zeros are in your bank account, because you'll always be hungry for more validation. But if you choose the former, if you choose to live a life that is smaller than your income, you will find a level of wealth that most people can't even imagine. I want you to think about your own status symbols. We all have them. Maybe it's the phone, the gym membership, or the brand of coffee we hold. Ask yourself, what would happen if you let those go? Would you feel less important? If the answer is yes, then that object owns you. You don't own it. Real wealth is the ability to say no. It's the ability to say no to a job you hate, no to a social commitment you don't want to attend, and no to a purchase that doesn't serve you. You can't say no if you've spent all your money trying to look like a yes man. This doesn't mean you have to be a miser. It just means you shift your definition of luxury. To me, luxury isn't a leather interior in a car. Luxury is waking up at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday and realizing I don't have to be anywhere I don't want to be. Luxury is the absence of financial noise. The world will always try to sell you a version of yourself that is better because of what you own. It's a relentless machine. But you have the power to opt out. You have the power to be the person in the sweatshirt, quietly building a life of substance while everyone else is busy building a life of show. As we wrap this up, I want to leave you with one thought. Progress in your financial life isn't always going to look like a bigger house or a better title. Sometimes progress looks like staying exactly where you are while your bank account grows. Sometimes progress is invisible. Don't be afraid to look unsuccessful by the world's standards. The world is often wrong. The goal isn't to look like you've made it. The goal is to actually have made it, on your own terms, in your own time, with your own peace of mind. You're doing better than you think you are, especially if you're brave enough to be ordinary. Because in an extraordinary world, being ordinary is the ultimate power move. Take a breath. You don't need to prove anything to anyone today. Just keep building quietly and consistently. Progress beats perfection every single time.